Hello, once again, one and all, and welcome back to Conquest of Azeroth. Today we are covering Runemaster. Runemaster is rather interesting in concept. It's an elemental damage class, but it's got three specs. It's got a dual wielding spec, a two-handed spec, and a casting spec. Its main stat is agility for the melee specs, and its main stat for its casting is spirit and int. Now, what's one of the things that's interesting about this class is it has a stealth rune shroud, and it's got certain abilities that you can only use in rune shroud, like palm sigil, like its palm sigils or its cryobrand. Cryobrand roots an enemy in place. Fire palm, palm sigil fires deals, causes your spell to do 80% bonus damage as fire, which is really strong for first hitting. Or you can use earth and get a 6-second stun, or a 4-second stun if you hit it with a spell, and it has to be a spell, not a melee attack, after you use one of these, but you've only got 6 seconds. It's got weapon engravings that do different things. Personally, I like fire, because if you use Zenith here, which makes it every hit a surefire to proc your weapon engraving, it causes you to start stacking up that 38 damage per stack, which, if you're fast enough, can be a rather nice health nuke. It's got some casting abilities. Right now, I am in the dual wielding spec. It's got some movement abilities. It's got a lot of CC, so it's really strong. Let's take a look at the talent tree real quick before I explain how the class plays. Talent tree is pretty simple. This is the dual wielding spec engravement, and it focuses on using, basically proccing your brands. So yeah, using this causes the next my next rune blade on use to deal AoE spellfire damage. It's not super strong, but it's really good for an extra burst of damage. Fist of the Ancients gives me one surefire proc of my weapon engraving if I don't use Zenith, so I can use that, then use Zenith, and then stack it even more. And then, got haste, reduced cooldowns of my primordial blast, which is this, it's instant cast, and it causes all three of my charges of Runeblade, my main spammer, to be regenerated. So in combat, I can use all three primordial blast, boom, boom, boom again, and pretty much stack up a crap ton of weapon engraving stacks. Runic Brand now has a chance when I detonate it or use it to turn my primordial blast into an elemental version, which has its own cooldown, so I can cast that elemental version than a normal one. The normal class tree gives you Zenith, which, as I already said, gives you 100% chance to proc your weapon engraving. You got this, which allows you to give your allies movement speed for 10 seconds. It's actually got a decent range. Your damage, your DR buff. This basically doubles Zenith's cooldown to duration to 6 seconds. This gives you more armor. You've also got Ice Rune, which is basically another AoE you could spam drop out. It makes enemies frozen, which certain talents can interact with. Or you've got Warp Dagger, and Warp Dagger is kind of interesting because you throw out a bouncing dagger. It doesn't go that far, but it basically lands in an area, and you can teleport to it. And, interestingly enough, you can use it while you're carrying a flag or an objective. So this is a really great movement ability, which you can pair with Speed Rune. Now, excuse me while I yawn. Oh, I am so sorry. It's been a long day for me. I am going to try something different with this video while I am discussing how the class plays. I'm going to have a clip from a PvP match I did with the spec running. So, if you will kindly give me one fucking moment. Alright, when you go to engage, you want to start with your stealth and follow in with a palm sigil. Primordial Blast. Normally you can use this to single out targets, and I would suggest doing so because you are not very tanky. But you single out a target, and you basically use your brand runic brand, Jesus, followed up with your rune strikes or your spammable fist of the ancient, so on and so forth. Your stealth has a cooldown, but it's very short, allowing you to basically dip out of combat and then come back in and rinse and repeat. You are very good at taking out single targets, but if you are ganged up on or you get targeted by ranged, you die very quickly. You have very little health. Now, in PvE content, you're very good at dealing with, at the very least, small groups. I'd say 2, maybe 3 mobs at most, depending on their level. Maybe more if they're a bit on the lower side. You deal really good damage, and you can take on a pretty decently strong solo enemies without much of an issue. The downside is you lack any really good self-healing. I did forget to mention these here, which are your runic tattoos, which are basically Earth gives you, as you can see, they do different things. I tend to stick with Frost because it's really useful in both in PvE and PvE. And moving on from here, we're going to go take a look at Riftblade. Alright. So Riftblade plays almost identical to engraving. Or, jeez, what was the name again? My brain. Yeah, Engravement, I was right. It plays almost identical, except instead of using two one-handed weapons, you're using a single two-handed weapon. And its focus is more on weaving your smolder and your primordial blast and your smolders in and out of using Runeblade. And every third Runeblade increases its damage and restores mana. This is really, really strong. You also get a choice of either Hoarfrost or Hurricane. Hoarfrost is actually your AoE choice. It can hit up to 3 enemies in an area in front of you, and it freezes them on the initial strike. Hurricane basically teleports you on top of an enemy, and they can't hit you. And as for freezing, like this one causes my weapon engraving fire to deal 20% increased damage against frozen targets, which, okay, fine, fair enough. And it's really good. It's pretty much the same choice of talents, except I didn't take the Zenith one because I kind of had to be forced to take Warp Dagger, even though I don't really use it. You can use it in Stealth too, which I forgot to mention, which is pretty good. And again, the way this plays is very, very akin to playing Engravement. So, and will see that in a moment. Yeah, this clip I started recording this clip a little slow. When I say this spec plays almost identical to Engravement, it really does. The combo style is pretty much the same. Stealth in, palm sigils, stun them, and then slap them around with Hurricane, Smolder. Use your Riftblade and Primordial Blast to deal as much damage as you can, but you'll still die just as quickly. Now, in PvE, again, this plays pretty much exactly like Engravement. There's really not much of a difference, except Riftblade plays more like a rogue, while Riftblade plays more like a warrior with stealth. And again, both of these melee specs are good. They're fun, they're good. It definitely sucks when you're fighting against them, especially if you're alone, because they will appear out of nowhere and rip you apart. I have touched at more than one Runemaster when they singled me out. And even then, even in team fights where I've got people around me that can help me, normally don't respond fast enough to kill this booger before he kills me. It's just how it is. But they are definitely not super strong. They are not busted. They're not broken. They are fairly balanced. They're just a rogue with different weapons. With that being said, next we are going to move on to Glyphic. Glyphic is the caster spec, and the Glyphic, it's interesting, and I like it. I like how it interacts with itself. I like how you basically have to combo your abilities together to maximize your damage. The only issue is it suffers from the same issues as the other two specs, which for a caster really sucks sometimes. As it stands right now at level 20, there's no AoE that you can get your hands on. And I don't think you don't get AoE until Primordial Parse at the very least 26 or 27. Kinda sucks. But basically what Glyphic's thing is Glyphic Rune, and you can see active glyph effects. And what glyph effects are is these. Elemental Burst or Primordial Blast while Frost Glyph is inactive, which is given by your first passive. Each glyph does something different when it's unleashed. Frost Glyph deals frost damage and slows enemies. Flame Glyph deals fire damage over time, as well as initial burst. Arcane deals AoE damage, but not a lot. And this is all procced by Glyphic Rune, which means if you can get all three of these, or maybe more if there's more than just those three, you can get a massive chunk of damage on Glyphic Rune, depending on if you play it right. Also got Frigid Blast, which basically what Frigid Blast does, it accumulates 20% of the damage you deal for the next 5 seconds, and then it basically detonates it, which is really good, but getting the time to cast this at the start of a combat is really situational. In dungeons, this is really good for dealing a big burst of damage to a boss. In PvP, I didn't find myself using it all that often. Normally, people were dead before I could use it. You still have your Riftblade, which, so you're not exactly useless in melee combat. You've actually got some abilities to deal with, getting in and out of melee combat, which is actually kind of nice. But Zenith doesn't actually get much use, sadly, because your weapon engraving doesn't really... Oh, no, it does work on your... those do work on your spells, I forgot. So yeah, these also work, so don't forget to put these on your weapons. Now, Int and Spirit are your two primary stats for this. You can use weapons, but I would suggest dual wielding. Why would I suggest doing this? For double stacking of the effects. You can get, the fire and the frost ice engravings, or even though you're only supposed to be able to put one engraving on a weapon, well, one engraving type, you can only have one engraving type active. You can double dip if you unequip one weapon, engrave it, unequip it, and then equip another one and engrave it, then drag your other weapon and put it back on, and now you have two of the same engravings. I don't know if this stacks the procs, but it's definitely useful. I'm sorry. Again, long day. I do have a clip for this, so I will be right back with that. Alright, as a Glyphic, when you go into combat, again, you want to start with stealth and your palm sigils. This is just your bread and butter for all three specs. But then you want to follow it up, instead of going from Runeblade, you want to hit with your Elemental Burst, Frigid Blast, Glyphic Rune, and by the time your Glyphic Rune comes off cooldown, your Primordial Blast is already off cooldown. And yes, Primordial Blast while in stealth doesn't give you your glyphs to proc with Elemental Rune. Downside is you're very squishy as a caster, and you can only pick out single targets as you have next to no AoE damage or ability to basically get away from melee combat. And yeah, you just die. So where would I put Runemaster and its specs along in my little mental tier list? I'd put them all in A tier. I would honestly put them all in A tier. They're good, but they have a very glaring weakness, but they're good, and that weakness serves to balance them out. So they can't just run rampage over everyone. I'd put Glyphic at the lower end of A tier, mostly because of a lack of early AoE, which kinda sucks. But the other two, again, they sit pretty middle of the pack on A tier. Fun, not that hard to get used to. The leveling was easy, especially with having a stealth makes leveling stupidly easy. and just it's a lot of fun. The one thing I will note that possibly needs to get changed about the class is I feel like thematically it should wear male gear. It plays like a rogue enhancement shaman. A rogue and enhancement shaman multi-class. If that makes any sense. You know, the elemental damage, dual wielding, buffing your own weapons, and, you know, plus the stealth. I think male would be more thematic, but then again, maybe putting these guys in male would be a very horrible idea. Again, I'm not a genius. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just going off of how I feel and what I experienced. So by all means, if you want to tell me I'm a moron, by all means, go right the hell ahead. I do not care. Just, you know, try to keep it constructive, would you? No, and in Dungeons, all three specs are really fun. They're really, you know, they fill their niches well. They don't lack compared to other specs or classes, other classes and their specs. And it's actually kind of fun. I am definitely looking forward to getting to play this past 20 once the next level cap gets hit, depending on what that is. The next I know I said the next video was gonna be my Tinker one, but I kind of got interested in working on leveling this up. I decided to do this one instead of Tinker. Tinker! Woo! Tinkerer 100% will be the next class I do a video on. That being said, I do hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please feel free to leave a like or a comment below. A like lets me know you all want to see more of this, and a comment helps me with the algorithm and gives me an interaction with you all, which I do so very much enjoy. Honestly, I've been watching the other two videos I've uploaded for this, and I'm kind of I'm a little blown away with the amount of views I've gotten on them. Like, I was expecting maybe a couple dozen, maybe up to 50 views, and like by the end of like the 5 days, but fucking five. What's the current one sitting at? I gotta double check. Because every time I check it, it's just even more ridiculous. Let's see, what is how the cultist at? Cultist is sitting at just shy of 550. Holy crap! Oh gosh, you're going strong here. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm flabbergasted that people would want to put up with my dumbass commentary. That many people would want to put up with my dumbass commentary. But that being said, I will see you guys all again in the next one. Bye bye.